Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to start to talk about a new unit, and it's called polynomials. Okay, and before we get into the notes for today, I just want to give you a couple of pieces of information on this. So a polynomial, let's get rid of this on the screen here. Okay, it would look something like this. Say I had 4x to the fourth power plus 3x to the third power minus 2x squared plus x plus 3. Okay, that's actually a polynomial. Notice we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. Each of the terms is separated by a plus or a minus. Okay, so we've got 5 terms. Notice when I write out my polynomial, I start at the highest exponent and I'm going down in decreasing order to the final number being a constant. Okay, so the number, if you recall, the number before the variable is called the coefficient. And if I looked at each one of these are individual terms. So it's just kind of a quick little background. So coefficient, this is the variable, then we have our exponent. So I just wanted to give you a little bit. So if we talk first about a monomial, it's actually a number, a variable, or a product of one or more numbers or variables. So it's really just a single term, because mono, so this is a single term. Single term, mono means one. So an example of a monomial might be a number 4. It could be just a variable x. It could be a coefficient with the x, so we could have 3x, or maybe we had 6x squared. Okay, so notice there's no plus or minus, they're just single number of variables. So if you want to stop and just write in some examples for yourself, you can over here. All right, a binomial here, bi means 2. So binomial would be 2 terms, okay? And the 2 terms are with plus or a minus, okay? So if I had x plus 4, that would be a binomial because we've got 2 terms with a plus. If I had 2y minus 6, that would also be 2 terms, or binomial, 2y minus 6, 3x squared plus 7, a plus b. Okay, so those are some examples of binomials. You can write in some of your own examples on the right. A trinomial, well, guess what? What do you think tri means? Tri means 3. So a trinomial, let's do T not an F, okay, would be 3 terms. Okay, 3 terms with plus or minus. Alright, so if I had 3 terms, so that would include, I could say maybe 5x squared plus 3x plus 2, or maybe I could say 6y squared plus 2xy plus x squared. Okay, notice we have 1, 2, 3 terms. That would be considered a trinomial. Now, a polynomial, the word poly right here means many. Okay, so it's a monomial, so it could be a monomial or a sum of monomials, each called a term of the polynomial. Usually refers to more than three terms. Okay, so if you have more than 3 terms, we call it a polynomial, but it could include any of the aboves: monomial, binomial, trinomial. Polynomial would just mean all of the above and more. So we could have maybe the number 5, 17x, 9x to the fourth minus 3x squared plus 5x minus 10. We could have 2x squared minus 4, okay, minus 4x. Again, these are all examples of polynomials. Okay, we get into a more specific breakdown when we call it a trinomial if there's 3, a binomial if there's 2, or a monomial if there's 1, but they're all known as polynomials. Okay, in a polynomial, when the polynomial is written in decreasing order, so it's decreasing order of exponents, like I showed you in the first example, the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the first term. Okay, what that means is if I had a polynomial written as 4x to the third plus 2x minus 7, the leading coefficient in this case would be equal to 4. Okay, so it's the coefficient of the very first term when it's written with the highest exponent. So say I had an example 3x squared plus 2x to the third minus 5, we would want to rewrite this in the order of, so rewrite it as 2x to the third plus 3x squared minus 5. And in that case, your leading coefficient is going to be 2. Okay, so you want to write it in decreasing order. All right, a constant is a number. It's usually written at the end of a polynomial. It does not have a variable in the term. So some examples of constants would be 5, negative 18, 7, okay, 10. Those are all constants. A like term is a term, a monomial, that have the same variables with the same exponents or just constant numbers. So same variable, same exponent. So if I had x and 5x, so say x and 5x, those are like terms. If I had 5x squared and 6x squared, okay, those are also like terms. If I had 2x squared y and 3x squared y, they would be like terms. Notice we have the same variables, x and x squared, and then y. Okay, so those would be considered like terms. And then if I had two numbers, say 5 and 7, again considered like terms. All right, not like terms. All right, let's just so that you know, not like terms might be something like this, where you had 5x squared y and 7xy squared. Okay, notice the exponents aren't the same with the variables. So, what we're going to talk about today is combining the like terms or simplifying the following expressions. Notice these are expressions, they're not equations, they don't have equal signs. Okay, so we're going to go back to looking for like terms. So if I start looking at the polynomial, I've got 3x squared. Okay, so this is a like term with the 2x squared because they both have the variable x with the exponent of 2. So when we combine them, we're going to get 5x squared. All we do is add the coefficients. Okay, then we have a 7x. We have nothing to combine it with, and then minus 5. We are done. There's nothing we can do with that at this point. Okay, if we look at number 2, I've got negative 2x to the third, and I'm going to combine that with positive 8. Notice I'm circling around the minus and the plus. It makes it easier to combine them. So we are going to have a 6x to the third. All right, and then we can combine 5x squared and negative 7x squared, so then we get minus 2x squared. Okay, so I'm going to start with my highest exponent here. Let's see, I've got x to the fourth. And there's nothing to combine it with, so I'm just going to list it as negative 10x to the fourth. Okay, my 9x to the third, I'm going to combine it with the 1x to the third, and so I get plus 10x to the third. And then I've got a negative x and a positive 12x. That's going to give me plus 11x. Okay, you're welcome to pause this video at any time. This is actually a pretty easy lesson, and if you want to try to do it on your own, you can. So 15x to the fourth, but all I ask is you to come back and check your answers. 15x to the fourth minus 8x to the fourth is going to give you 7x to the fourth. All right, then we've got negative 5x to the third, and a positive 9x to the third would be a plus 4x to the third. And then we've got just an x squared. Okay, so plus x squared. Okay, and notice I'm starting at the highest exponent and I'm going down. Okay, number 5. Okay, we're going to look at, let's do our 4/5 powers first. So 7x to the 5th, 5x to the 5th, and a negative 12x to the 5th. When we combine them, 7 and 5 is 12. 12 minus 12 is 0. So that means they're just going to all cancel out. But if I take negative 7x to the 4th minus 7x to the 4th, I'm going to get a negative 14x to the 4th. And we just write it like that. Okay, number 6, we are going to get, and I'm going to look here, we've got 4x to the 5th and negative 11x to the 5th. So we've got negative 7x to the 5th. Okay, then we've got plus 5x to the 4th. There's nothing to combine that one with. But here we've got a negative 3x squared and a negative x squared. That will give us a negative 4x squared. Okay, so again, why don't you pause the video here and try some on your own and see how you do. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, I'm going to look at this and see. Okay, so then I've got number 7. I'm just going to give you the answers here. 7 is 2x squared plus 4x plus 4. 8 will be a 0 because if you notice when you combine your negative 3x to the 5th, you're plus a 1, so negative 2 plus a positive 2, these three will cancel out. And then here we have 8x minus 3x is 5x, and 5x minus 5x is 0. So we end up with just a 0 because they all cancel out. Okay, now when you have parentheses, this is where I want you to be really careful. Okay, parentheses, you're going to have to make sure that you look at what's outside. In this case, it doesn't really matter if you're adding with the parentheses, but I want you to rewrite the entire polynomial without the parentheses. Plus 3x squared, this is just a really good habit because when you're subtracting, that's where it's going to make the difference. So with this one, we've got 5x squared and 3x squared. That's going to be 8x squared. And then we've got a 2x and a 7x, so we get 9x. Okay, so we combined the 5x squared and the 3x squared and got our 8x, and then the 2x and the 7x. Okay, all right, so here we've got subtraction. Now this is where you need to be really careful. All right, so with addition, it didn't matter because you're adding a 3x and you're adding a 7x. But when you rewrite this polynomial, it's going to be 3x squared minus 7. Then you're going to have a minus 5x squared. But what's going to be really important here is this negative times a negative makes this a plus 6. So see, if you keep the parentheses, you might confuse yourself and think that that's a negative 6. So always rewrite the problem without parentheses and then combine your like terms. Okay, so this would become 3x squared minus 5x squared is negative 2x squared. Okay, and then you've got your negative 7 plus 6 would be minus 1. And then you're done there. Okay, 11, I'm going to actually rewrite this, plus 3x, I'm going to say minus 5x squared, plus 6x, plus 9. So again, it's like you're distributing a negative 1. Okay, now when I combine my like terms, I get 3x squared, plus 9x, plus 9. Okay, number 12, I'm going to rewrite it without the parentheses, but because it's a plus, see, it doesn't change anything with it's plus. Okay, it's like I'm distributing a plus 1, it doesn't do anything, but it's that negative you got to be really careful with. So negative 4x squared plus 5x minus 1 plus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8. You're going to end up with negative x squared minus x plus 7. Okay, so pause the video here and try some more and see how you do. So I'm just going to give you the answers for the next few. Number 13, the answer would be negative 13x squared minus 2x plus 18. Number 14, after you rewrite it and you add, you should get a negative 5x squared plus 3x minus 6. Okay, number 15, you should have 12x squared minus 12x plus 4. And number 16, 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay, so with number 14 and number 16 and number 15, if you got any of those wrong, notice the minus sign right here, and check to make sure that you rewrote the problem. Okay, so if you had rewritten the problem, we do have a little bit of time left in the video, you should have had 3x minus 4x squared minus 1 minus x squared minus 5. Okay, with this being the answer. Okay, for this one you should have had negative 2x plus 3x squared minus 7x plus 4 plus 9x squared minus 3x. Okay, and then you should have combined from there. All right, and this one, I don't have that much room, so I'm going to do it down here. You should have had 13x squared minus 5x minus 10x squared plus 2x minus x and plus 3. Okay? All right, so hopefully this helps and you'll be able to get your homework done. Bye-bye.